Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, the importance of literature review is very crucial to your writing to show that you belong to the scholar community or academic people. The principle is in giving a proper and supporting literature to support or to enhance your own idea of your study. So, literature review can vary in length and context. It means it can be a very long paperwork or can be brief. Yeah, it depends on the requirement of your writing project, and can be found in many different genres of writing. So all disciplines, in fact, use literature reviews, and most commonly, the literature review is a part of a research paper, article, book, thesis, or dissertation. So sometimes your instructor may ask you to simply write a literature review, a standalone document. It means your professor or your supervisor wants you to provide your academic insight based on your in-depth reading uh, in specific issues or topics. Okay, so this is how should we see the importance of literature. Let us imagine that you are trying to tell us a story, that you are trying to convince us about the factual information within the story. So you try to contextualize the story and you tell everything, the background, the time, or any component that will help you to convince your listener or your hearer. So when you are trying to convince them, actually you use other surrounding object or condition that provide information that uh, may give validity to your story, or that may support your story. So in terms of research, it also works like that as well. And the other illustration is, let's imagine science as a big tree of knowledge. So whatever you are trying to study, any phenomenon or any requirement that you are trying to fulfill with your research, you cannot be outside the cell or outside the connection of the tree. If you put yourself disconnected to the tree of knowledge, it means you don't have characteristic, or you don't have the nature to state that your inquiry or your research as academic or as science, because no other disciplines or other previous findings or other reports that uh, guide people to read your scientific concept in your writing. So if you want to be part of science or the tree of knowledge, you have to be connected to the tree. How? By addressing all theories, all thoughts, all theses, all ideas declared under the roof of science or within the trees of knowledge. Okay, so that is how to see that how important uh, literature. Let's imagine literature as a big tree of knowledge. Okay, and then we go to what literature review is actually an evaluation of existing research. By evaluating existing research, we can declare, or we can find, or we can do a think about the previous research. For example, you are trying to disapprove or put an argument against an expert about one thing. So if you want to put argument on him or her, you have to know and understand the argument from him or her first. And then based on your understanding, you can build up your argument to go against him. It's not your personal, or let's say your decision about how, it's not about like or disliking the things or the opinion, but it's about you understand the statement and you feel that this is so untrue according to you, and you think that you can form arguments or evidence that support your thoughts. It's mean if you want to deny or to declare that the previous research finding, you have to understand it first, and then you can build up your own perspective. And it also works like that when you put yourself as proponents, or when you feel agree with the ideas. If you want to agree with something, it means you have to understand the things that you will decide to agree or not agree about. So reading literature is one thing of very important part of your research. An argument about where your research fits into the field. So I always use state of the art to explain this. State of the art means the position of your research within the tree of knowledge, within the science, in that discipline. For instance, you are studying English in a foreign language context, and it means you are trying to put argument about something specific issue in that field. Okay, so to understand the position of your research, you have to have a quite rich literature related to your research, or relevant issues to your research, and then a way of positioning the argument for your project. It's very clear that by having strong reading, strong academic reading, then you can easily construct your ideas to guide your research to specific direction based on your understanding about the literature. And then in literature, you can say that the easiest way to understand literature review is you try to answer the research question by borrowing people's theories, or previous theories, or previous finding, or previous knowledge within the same discipline. So it can be true, or it can be go to the different way. It can be proponent, it can be opponent. It depends on your research and your belief as a researcher. So literature review, on the other hand, is not a simple summary of research. It's not, it's not like making summary, but it's like understanding the the compilation of similar or relevant research reports to you, that is relevant to your study, and then you try to grab the most important ideas, information from those reading activities, and then you try to, and then you come up with your own perspective. So it's not simply summarizing ideas. No, that's not the work of literature review, and not an encyclopedic list of research. It means you try to compile some research with some categories of idea, like maybe this research about A and another group with B, or idea about C and so on. No, you know, encyclopedic, yeah, you know, encyclopedia is a book of compilation about one thing with that have uh, sh- shared characteristic or similar ideas. No, you don't put uh, you don't put them to be like that. Okay, and then a review of research not clearly connected with your project is not acceptable. Yeah, uh, I, I I often found my students doing this, like you know, when they are studying things, and then when I open their chapter through, um, what I saw there was so unacceptable. Like when you're studying specific things, then you know the idea is very specific, and you just put general things like when you're studying reading metacognitive strategy, and then you just put the theory of reading skill, what is reading skill, how to practice reading, or the importance of reading, assessment of reading, something that is something that, you know, rather irrelevant. Yes, it has maybe connected in some way, but it is not really relevant to your study. It doesn't have any, you know, supporting argument to support your ideas. So why bother placing them into your writing if you just, you don't need them. Remember, this is what I keep saying to my students: is what you put in chapter 2 will be useful for chapter 3 and your chapter 4. Why? Because in chapter 3 you will design the plan of your study. So by understanding the theory or understanding the object or the subject you are trying to study based on literature review, you you can make a, very comprehensive instrument to collect data, or the steps what you should do based on your understanding about the idea after reading a lot of literature. So you build the instrument, you build everything, you build your chapter through actually based on your understanding about the literature with the same idea of your research or relevant ideas to your research. And then when you go to chapter 4, when you come up with finding, and then you have to discuss the finding, it means you have to elaborate what the finding is, and discuss the finding very strongly formatted with your literature review. If you have strong literature review, and then when you start writing your discussion section, I believe that you will have very rich perspective on discussing the finding. Uh, Otherwise, if you have very poor literature review, it won't help you to elaborate your finding. It won't help you to discuss the finding, and it won't even help you to understand the finding, because by understanding relevant literature, it will help you to talk so many things, yeah, about your finding, because you have very strong layer in your mind, or in your knowledge, that supports you to make further about the things. Okay, and then we go to literature. Literature review explains how your project fits in the larger scholarly conversation. It means how people will see your research based on how people studying the things out there. When they have ideas out there, they share with the community of scholars, and then they will get response based on their writing. And then that's why the conversation among the experts or among the scholars will occur based on the writing. So if you read an article, it doesn't mean you just read a single person ideas. It means so many people ideas embraced, argued or supported in one single article. So it means, yeah, so many people are talking inside a single article. Yeah, so you can imagine what I mean. So in that sense, if you have the understanding of knowing the position of the expert and discipline or interest in the same field of interest like you are studying, you have the chance to find the fit location or position of your research among them, among the scholars, among the conversation. So you show what research has been done or already or previous findings in order to draw attention to what research still needs to be done. Needs to be done means I can find the gap, I can find uh, something missing from the previous research. I can find like the weak foundation of of the previous research, and then I think I have another argument that might against this idea. It is highly depend on your ability to understand the review of literature, and what research is relevant to understand is relevant to understanding your project. Yeah, to understand your project. So your readers need to have a sense of how you built your project. So sometimes readers, they can understand it by reading your title, but they need to make sure where did the idea come from, or any supporting ideas from other experts that may support your ideas. And then how your project is positioned in terms of specific scholarly questions. Okay, it means, like I said before, every scholar will send you question if you send your writing, and your readers want to know what questions drive your inquiry. Okay, so to develop your review of literature, you begin with strong background and research question or research problem or whatever you want to have in your research. It will it will be the guidance for you to search and explore relevant literature on the same field of interest. And how can you get started on your literature field? Have a clear sense of your research questions. It's a very compulsory. If you don't understand your research question, it means you don't understand the component of the research question. If you don't understand the component, how can you go further? By knowing the component, and you know the theoretical framework that support the research question, that will guide you to every relevant things out there, written or disseminated by so many experts. And then understand how you come to your research question. Okay, that's the same idea. That means your background, yeah, that inspires you to to make that question, and write about what you need to explain about your research. It means you want to be spotted by the academic community or scholars, and then you want to make the argument that people should read my writing or my article. So to make them stimulated or attracted to read yours, it uh, your review of literature will help you to do that. Okay, and it will convince them to the project that you are writing. And then make sure you know where and how to find relevant research. Make sure you know where and how to find relevant research. Yeah, you know, you have to be very, smart and diligent to find reputable resources to help you to write, and try to follow the paths of finding relevant and rich resources for your writing. And then a literature review may include some of this. Yeah, it can covers the issue of theory, research, and methodology that you need to establish for your research. Okay, you can study from other people previous study, like what did they do, what did they do, what did they use, or what did they ask or find, and everything. Okay, and definition of key terms and the source from which they are drawn. Say key terms is very important things, and then description of relevant debates. Okay, so by having uh, in-depth reading, you can find the debate about particular topic. Yeah, for instance, in English language teaching, Chomsky has stated that there is no sense that only stimulation can make people speak, like in behavioral psychology principle of teaching methodology. Okay, and then descriptions of relevant debates, and then relevant theoretical position. Okay, we have discussed this. And then this is the tips. When summarizing the literature, you must also decide which ideas or information are important to your research. Remember, try to sort, try to choose, decide. Okay, you don't just put any theories. Relevant mean you have to very carefully select the literature or the information that is necessary for you, because sometimes in article they restrict or they give you limit of the pages of your article. So you have to be very efficient of using a review of literature. You don't go too far, or you don't go too general. Okay, so be focused on your research, and don't make it too long, because that is not the main point of your research. You have so many other parts of your research. So you should also look for the major concept, conclusion, theories, and arguments that underlie the literature. That is the conclusion. Okay, you have to very carefully read uh, those references or literature. Look for similarities and differences with closely related work. It means you have to understand that some people may agree on something, sometimes they may disagree on something. Yeah. So if you can, you know, you can provoke the similarities and differences among the scholars or among the experts, that will be very highlighted job for you, because you already know the position of the field of interest in your research. Okay, so avoiding plagiarism is the most important thing in my class. Don't do this, because this is so sinful in academic environment. We don't tolerate plagiarism. Don't steal people's ideas. Yeah. If you really need them, you just borrow them, okay, for free. But don't steal their ideas. Don't be a thief. Don't take them without responsibility. You know, I feel so sad sometimes seeing many students doing this, like citating other people's without mentioning name, without mentioning the list, the people's name in the list of reference or something like that. It's kind of you make a unaccepted behavior of doing that, because that is so, so unacceptable for you to write something, but you realize that that is not your own idea, and you know the author, but you don't mention him or her. It means you steal from him or her. So don't do that in my class. Thank you for respecting this. I respect any kind of your project writing, the quality, as long as you keep doing that, keep following the timetable or the due date, you'll be fine in my class. You don't have to be look superb or extraordinary, but behind that you steal people's idea. Okay, I think you have to remember this. How to start a writing is a review literature. Okay, try to keep in your mind the idea of your research that will guide you to the path. Once you have found an article that is very relevant to your research, you can trace back based on their reference, or you can trace further based on the topic. You can use the clue and just Google it, and you'll find maybe more ideas, maybe current, maybe newer ideas about the same research. So use any resources that you have now as the starting point for you to tracking forward or tracking backward all relevant writing related to your study. Okay, maybe you can start with placing or writing the subheading, like giving the title of your subheading based on your reading activities. And then you try to make a subheading, the title of your subheading, and you can start base by using the subheading as your main guideline to trace relevant theories for your research. So keep showing your effort to understand the theories and emphasize the gap between your research to the existing theories or previous research that may relevant to your research. I think that's all for our course today. I'll see you soon. Okay, and the project is please based on your topic of interest, try to collect and list titles of some articles that is relevant to your research or to your ideas of your research, and then try to write them on a proper list of reference. I don't know which style of reference that you will use. You can use maybe APA or others, but try to find out, do we have so many style of indexing or writing references? If yes, try one. Okay, you compile some articles completely with the names of the authors, the name of publication, maybe the title of the article, the years of publication, and everything, and then you try to enlist them based on any style of reference writing. Okay, or you can Google it if you feel that you don't understand it, like the style of writing reference, just write like that. Okay, the number of articles you have enlist that not less than 5 articles. It means minimum 5 articles for the same topic related to your research. Okay, and all reference should be in the form of academic article published in a journal. You cannot use book, you cannot any other resources, you just use article. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.